So the final part of our first assignment is our invoice. And we're going to look at what should be included on an invoice. But first of all, do you know what an invoice actually is? Usually, when I ask my class this, I get a variety of different answers. Some people think it's a quote, some people refer to it almost as a receipt. What it is, in its simplest term, is it's the bill that you are giving your customer. Okay, so with that clarified, we're going to get on to the first thing. So there's 12 different pieces of information that should appear on an invoice. The first one is actually the word invoice. And that allows it to identify the document with the word invoice to differentiate from a quote, credit note, or a receipt. The second thing is a unique invoice number. The number must be unique to each invoice without duplicates for clear identification, and you must keep a record of the numbers and references used. Sequential number, going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is the easiest way to manage this. And please make sure not to duplicate any invoice numbers, as revenue have a lot of power in this regard. And if they think that you're duplicating invoices number, they might think that there's something not quite right going on, and there could be large penalties incurred. The next thing you can pop in is the reference, and that can be part of your customer's name. If it was McDonald, you could have MCD 001, MCD 002, just for your own records and reference if you were trying to group certain invoices together. The next thing then is your company name and address. Now, this is different for sole traders and limited companies. And again, when I ask people what's a sole trader, often they'll say that, oh, it's someone who works for themselves. Whilst that is partially correct, it's often a little bit more than that. I could be a sole trader and have 5, 8 people work for me. But it's really about how I've set up my own company. If I'm a sole trader, I'm liable for anything. So if somebody's trying to sue me, they could come after my home, my car, anything that I own. However, if I'd set up my company as a limited company, they can only come after what is within the company. So what's in the company bank account or company vehicles, they can't come after any of your own personal items. So as a tradesperson, it is definitely something worth considering. To form a company, you have to enlist with the company registration office, the CRO, and take it from there. You will need to show annual accounts, make returns, etc. So you will need the help of an accountant for this. And it can be quite costly. So that is sometimes what makes people opt for the sole trader, less paperwork and less costly. However, with the liabilities that you can incur, it's definitely worth a thought. Okay, the next thing is the company name and address of the customer, or just the name and address of the customer. So this is standard procedure on all invoices, except simplified VAT invoices, but it's important for customers who want to claim back VAT that has been charged. Now, this is definitely stamping out the practice of if I had a friend who'd bought some drills, etc., and I said, oh, here, give me the receipts for that and I can claim back the VAT. I haven't spent out the money, so therefore I can't claim back the VAT and I can't claim other people's VAT. So revenue, I insist on the customer's name being on any VAT receipts, especially if you're claiming back VAT, it's your name, your company, etc., that needs to appear on it. Next up, we have a description of the goods or services. So, a clear description of the goods and services being invoiced for, with each service or item on a separate line for clear identification. You're really making it easy for the customer to see what exactly they are paying for. The date of supply, known as the supply date as well. This is when the goods or services were issued. The supply date may be different to the invoice date, but it's usually within 30 days. The date of the invoice. The date the invoice was actually created and generated, not necessarily when the goods were supplied. So you might decide to sit down every Friday afternoon and create your invoices for the week and send them out to your customers. You might do this once a month, whatever. I would generally try to get the invoices out as close to the time when the work is being done. Okay, don't be out of pocket too long. Bad cash flow can put you under an awful lot of pressure. The amount of the individual goods or services to be paid. If you have a list of items in the description, then each one will be marked with an individual amount. Again, we're breaking it down for the customer. 9. The total amount payable. Okay, so you'll be adding up all of the different rows for each of the items that you've listed, and we're going to give a total amount payable. When we move on to the next section where I'm showing you how to fill in an invoice, you'll see exactly where this is. So it'll be the subtotal, the VAT amount, and add it together, and that'll give you your total amount payable. Our next item is payment terms. Okay, so these are usually defined in your terms and conditions and agreed by your customers. They are your terms for the length of time to pay and should be marked at the bottom of the invoice. For example, payment within 30 days, payment within 7 days, upon delivery, etc. You decide what your payment terms are. The next thing, and it's really, really important if you can get one, is the purchase order number. If your customer provides you with a purchase order number, then this should be clearly shown on the invoice. Some customers may also require that the name of the contact person is shown on the invoice too. Asking for a purchase order is recommended, as once generated, this then becomes a legally binding contract between yourself and your client or customer. So definitely, if at all possible, get a purchase order number, because you're then tying in the customer to a contract with you. And finally, let them know how they can pay the invoice. List the different ways that an invoice can be paid and include your bank account references, for example, your IBAN number. For invoices to international customers, IBAN, BIC, SWIFT codes should be included. And if you're asking to be paid by cheque, let them know who to make the cheque payable to. Okay, we're ready to get going on creating our invoice.